Second graders, Miss Chickini here with your math lesson for the day. So we're going to warm up with our telling time math routine. So I know this is an analog clock and down here is a digital clock. So what we're going to do first is we have to write the minutes around the clock because I know these numbers on the analog clock tell me the hours, but these little lines tell me the minutes. So we're going to go around the clock and figure out the minutes for each one of our minute bold lines. So at the top, we have our 0, 0. And I remember that says O clock when we're telling the time. Then we count by fives. Ready, everyone? Count by fives as I write them. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. What comes next? 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, and 60. Very good. So we remember that we just have to count by fives when we go around the clock to figure out the minutes. So I also know that on an analog clock we have the hour hand and the minute hand. And an easy way to remember which hand is which one is to look at the word hour and minute. Hour is a short word, so that is the short hand. Minute is a longer word, so that is the long hand on a clock. So I'm going to write a time on the clock, and we're going to see if we can figure out what time it is. All right, so there's my time on the clock. And when we're telling time, we want to look at the hour first. So we have to figure out which one is my hour hand. Remember our little trick, hour is short, so we're going to go to the short hand. The short hand is between the 5 and the 6 o'clock hour. So I know that my hour is 5. Very good. And now I have to figure out my minute time. So I might think, oh, it says 9. So my minute is 5, 9. Because the minute hand is pointing to the 9. But that is not right. It doesn't make sense. Remember, these numbers only tell me the hour. To figure out the minutes, we have to count by our fives around our clock until we get to our minutes. And so we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So my minutes are 45. So my time, I would read it as 5:45. One thing about analog clocks is we don't know if it's AM or PM. So let's say it's 5 a.m. Remember, AM means from midnight until noon. So what would you be doing at 5:45 a.m.? I don't know about you, but I would be sleeping still. So think about what you would be doing. Maybe you might be sleeping too, and so you might give me the me too sign. All right, let's think about 5:45 p.m. So I know this is in the afternoon. It's after we would come home from school normally. It's when the sun is still high in the sky, but maybe starting to set a little bit. Think about what you'd be doing at 5:45 p.m. I know for me, we would be eating dinner. We usually eat dinner between 5:30 and 6. So at 5:45 p.m., we would be eating dinner. So think about what you would do. Maybe share it out loud, or me too, if you would be eating dinner. Very good. All right, today I'm going to go over some addition and some subtraction problems. And the other day with Mrs. Sylvester, we did adding and subtracting with 2-digit numbers. Today I added in a 3-digit number. So when we have a vertical equation, we can think 2 ways to help solve this. Our first way might be to turn it vertically. And when you turn your numbers vertically, you want to make sure you line up your hundreds, your tens, and your ones. So here's my new vertical equation. I'm sorry, up here was horizontal. So when it's horizontal, I want to turn it vertically. Or another way to help us is maybe put it into a math mountain. And looking at this equation, I can see that I am missing my total. I have my 2 add-ins. So I can fill that in on my math mountain. And yes, these are some large numbers to be on a math mountain, but it still works. So let's go over and solve our vertical equation. So we always start with our ones. So let's do 7 plus 9. And that is 16. 16 is our answer. So if you notice, I put my new group above because when I add these 2 together, I get a 10. And instead of putting it in my ones column, I make sure I add it in my tens column. Right? Then I go to my tens and I add my tens. I have 1 10 plus 2 tens plus 8 tens is 11 tens. And I know 11 tens gives me a new 100. So I'm going to put my new 100 above. Then I have 100 plus 100 equals 200. So 127 plus 89 equals 216. Looking at my math mountain, I know that would go in my total spot. So now that we have our equation and our answer, I want you to think of a word problem for this. So using these numbers in a word problem. So I might say, I had 127 blueberries and I had 89 raspberries. How many raspberries did I have in all? And that in all word helps me to know that I should add those 2 numbers together. When it says in all or all together, we're most likely going to add when we see that. So go ahead and share your word problem with a brother, sister, your mom, your dad. Maybe you want to write it down or you just want to say it out loud. I'll give you a minute to think about your word problem. All right, we're going to move on to a subtraction problem. So here is my horizontal equation for subtraction. And remember, we can solve it 2 ways. We might write it vertically, remembering to line up our tens and our ones. And we could show it in our math mountain. So in my Math Mountain, I know that this is my total from my equation, because I don't want a bigger number than 132. So I'm going to put 132 at the top and 46 at the bottom. And here's my unknown added. All right, so I'm going to think of a word problem for this one first this time. So I might say 132 people were invited to my birthday party. That's a lot of people. 46 people couldn't come. How many people came to the birthday party? So in order to figure out how many guests I'm having, like I need to know how much food I need. I'm going to have to subtract, because this was the total amount of people, and this were the people that cannot come. So I'm finding out how many people are still coming to the party. So we're going to solve by looking at our ones first. So I have 2 minus 6. Think about our rhyme that we learned. More on the floor, go next door, ungroup, and get 10 more. So I'm going to ungroup my 3 and make it a 2. And I get 10 more, so this 2 becomes 12. Now I can solve because I have more on top. 12 minus 6 is 6. Very good. Then I look at my tens. I have 2 minus 4. Again, I have more on the floor. Go next door, ungroup. 1 becomes 0, and get 10 more. So my 2 becomes a 12, because 2 plus 10 is 12. Now I have more on the top. No need to stop. 12 minus 4 equals 8. So I have 86 people still coming to the party. All right, let's check that equation. So let's do addition now instead of subtraction. Let's do 86 plus 46. And I see a double, 6 plus 6, so I know quickly that that's 12. I make a new 10. I know 8 plus 1 is 9, plus 4 more is 13. And I check to see if I got the same answer. And I did. So that's another way that addition and subtraction are related, like Mrs. Sylvester was showing you the other day. All right, now I'm going to write 2 problems on the board that I want you to do. So if you don't have a piece of paper and a pencil, go ahead and grab one really quick while I get your problems ready. All right, here are your problems that I want you to solve. So go ahead and write these down. 156 plus 34, 127 minus 88. Make sure you line up your ones and your tens, and then go ahead and give it a try and solve those problems. I'll give you a few minutes and then we will come back and check them. Go ahead and start solving.